The mysterious death of a friend brings Arizona native Jule back to an enchanting town in New Mexico. Reuniting with her friends, she is unexpectedly pulled into a mystical world of gods, demons, werewolves, nymphs, and more. With the help of a clever god and a unique witch, Jule discovers that she too is more than human. The closer threat of an ancient anti-magic group of assassins, the Order of Purity, threatens Jule and her friends in their quiet mountain town. In order to have the strength to protect her friends, Jule must conquer her own fears and become her true self, a lycanthrope. An exciting tale of love, betrayal, and triumph. Discover your true self. More Than Human. Written by Heather Ashbury. Narrated by Christina Roth. Hello, and welcome back to another audiobook review. Before I get started, I just want to start this off by saying I am currently going to be taking, I guess, a little break. I am running out of audiobooks to review. Actually, this is kind of my last one on the list, so if you are a writer yourself, if you have an audiobook that you'd like to be reviewed on this channel, please make sure to contact me. I will put my business email down below. You can just send me an email saying that you're interested in having your book reviewed, and we can make it happen. With that said, also, as an important announcement, I am coming up on my 200th episode on this channel. So, as a special event for that landmark, I'm having a watch party. I don't know exactly when. I will put the date of it in the description below as the time gets closer. So keep an eye on this channel. Keep an eye on the video descriptions. And if you see a date, I will try to put it at least 2 or 3 videos. You know, when I make 2 or 3 videos right before the 200th, I'll settle on a date. Depends how long it takes me to get out those videos. But, yeah. Basically, what it is I'm going to watch a movie, and I'm going to be live chatting with you guys during the movie. And if you guys have that movie, you can watch too. I won't be able to show the movie, so you kind of have to have the movie or watch the movie on your own while I watch it with my daughter. And yeah, it'll be a fun time. There'll be some giveaways. So, all right. But now let's jump right into the review for More Than Human, Book 1. Overall thoughts before I spoil anything, which honestly the description kind of does spoil some stuff, but before I spoil anything big, I enjoyed it. It wouldn't probably be my very top pick. I like fantasy, but there was something about this that I was like, this wouldn't be my number 1. This isn't Harry Potter, for example. I can listen to Harry Potter or Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy over and over and over and over. But I did enjoy it. So if you enjoy a modern day fantasy, I think the biggest offset for me was this is a genre that I'm in, that I write specifically. So it felt a little too on the nose for some of the stuff that I write. So yeah, I mean, if you enjoy this kind of, modern day fantasy stuff, definitely check it out. It's definitely gonna probably appease to you. But if you want to know my in-depth thoughts, let's get started on that now. So starting with the cover and title. For the cover and title, I'm going to give it 5 stars. If I had to nitpick anything about the cover and title, I would say the only thing I could really nitpick here would be the font chosen for the title More Than Human. I think it could have been a little bit flashier, and it could have done without that box it's in. I think something that really pops up would have been better. But the background picture, everything is perfectly fine. Looking at the audiobook version, looking at the paperback version, I think that alone is actually better. If you can see right here, the two, I think the paperback version is better than the audiobook version, but maybe that's just me. So, but yeah, I definitely would give this 5 stars. I definitely think it fits the story quite well. The title is perfect for the book. Now moving on to the writing. And for the writing, I was really debating where I was going to put some of this stuff, but I decided to ultimately put my negatives in another section. So for the writing, I'm going to give it 5 stars. It's really good. It's clear. It's crystal perfect. I mean, things are very well described. It really sets the imagery in your head. So the imagination that's used is really good. So again, for this section, I'm going to give it 5 stars. Now moving into the narration. The narrator was very clear, so I'm going to give this also 5 stars. It's really hard to screw up narration. So, if I had to say anything about the narrator, I think some of the voices just was a little too, there wasn't a lot of variety in the amount of voices they were doing. I think if they maybe just stretched a little bit more, they could have done a little bit more with the voice work. But, I mean, everything was read perfectly. I mean, when it was suspenseful, even the way it's read is suspenseful, stuff like that. So, perfect score for narration, basically. Now moving into the story. And for the story, I am going to give this 4 stars. The reason why is simply because of an issue I'm going to have with characters and an issue I had with the story. Not everything in the story was explained, which is fine sometimes. Sometimes, yeah, that's okay. Leave a bit of mystery. Don't dive too deep into exposition. But at the same time, the story just felt like it went by too fast. You know, um, 1 minute you got a character who's doing something. I said there'd be spoilers, so last chance. But, okay, so the main girl, she's taken to the woods. And she's forced to change into a werewolf. And that's all fine, She tries, later, she goes out to this ranch to try it on her own, and she can't do it. Then her newly found boyfriend is in trouble, and she's, really scared, really frustrated, angry, and she suddenly can do it. And after that, she can just do it all the time. There's no... I could understand maybe in that one moment she could, but if I remember correctly, the characters say, the first few times you transform is going to be hard, but it'll get easier the more you do it. Whereas here, she kind of just did it, and even though they were trying to help her do it again, she couldn't. Then something happened, and she did it, and then she just could do it all the time. There was no struggle. And I think there maybe should have been, or something. I also think, there's a lot of other moments where I feel like the story just advanced too fast. And that's going to take me into my next section. So moving on to characters, I'm going to give this 3 stars. Now, the reason why I'm giving this 3 stars is because while the main character is focused on, which is fine, getting to learn the main character, as I just said before, the biggest problem for me was that the story went by too fast. Everything became too easy. Here's something that happens. Here's how you can resolve it. And, you can't resolve it. Well, like the transformation, you can't transform. Well, here's something that happens. Now you can transform all the time. Oh, here's a bad guy that, honestly, I saw coming a mile away. And the whole time I was thinking of how I wanted to say this. I was curious, what could she have done? And it came to me, there could have been more time spent with the friends. There's this whole end section of the book where it's like all these things are happening and people are maybe getting lost. And honestly, aside from the main character and her love interest, I really didn't care. Not trying to be mean, not saying I didn't care at all, but it's like, I don't know these characters. These are dragon fodder as far as I'm concerned. And what I mean by dragon fodder is I answered a question once upon a time where I said to the person, if you got 5 knights being sent by a king to go slay this impossible dragon that no one can slay, they're walking into the cave, they're going to their deaths. you really don't need a lot of character development for 5 random knights in the background who are just off going to a quest to die. So, if they're not the main characters, that's just kind of how this felt. Like everybody in the background didn't get enough attention. So I really didn't know much about these characters. And if there was just a little bit more time spent with these characters, other things would have been a surprise, because there's this thing with the villain, or a villain, where it's talked about the whole main villain group. Then something happens, and you're like, wait a minute, is this going? Then immediately you're like, oh yeah, that's what's going to happen. There wasn't much of a surprise. There wasn't much suspense. But if those things with the villain, that one villain in particular, had maybe been stretched out with a few extra scenes inserted to get us, the audience, to care about her other group of friends, to learn more in depth about the others that are going to be a part of this story. And don't get me wrong, I've been very guilty of this exact thing myself. My first book, The Guardian of Light, was mainly going to be a story written from the view of the protagonist, but I realized it was too short. So I had to throw in other stuff, things from the other villain's point of view. So that's what I did to flesh out the villain, to flesh out some of these extra characters that I was going to have. And it not only makes your book longer, which keeps people into your world, but it makes them more invested in the characters they're growing to know. Now, I didn't really do that with the main characters because I had 5 books, but I had a reason. And here, if we're not going to focus on the main characters, I felt like maybe then the villain should have been focused on a little bit more. Maybe telling a story from her perspective. But, yeah, that's basically my biggest downfall. So, was the characters just, they needed to be fleshed out better. They needed to be fleshed out more. And I think the author could have done this. And had the author done this, this guy dies at the beginning, and then, she learns that he wasn't, it wasn't an accident, it was murder. And it's like, okay, well, that would be interesting to dive into. That would be interesting to find out more. How did they make it? Did they set it up to look like an accident? Were they part of the police force and that's just how it got wrote up was an accident? Yeah, it would have been interesting to learn that stuff. And it would have set up, too, that the main villain group is a actual threat. Because I really was like, oh, so this is just a couple of religious fanatics. Nothing major. They'll have this and no problem. So, I do think this definitely has some potential to be a franchise, and I would definitely look forward to seeing another book in this series and hope that some of these issues get addressed. Like I said, the writing was good, the audio was good, the story itself is good, it just needs to be fleshed out here and there, fine-tuned like a guitar. So, there was no extras in this book. So moving right on to the final score. And for More Than Human, I am going to give this an 8 out of 10. Like I said, despite my little nitpicks of, characters needing to be fleshed out better, characters needing to prolong the story just a tad, I did feel like, this could have been better. It was almost there. It just didn't quite stick the landing. And hopefully that is something that gets addressed and done better with upcoming books. If she's going to keep doing books with this world, we could get more explanation, hopefully, meet new characters, and learn about those characters. I was a little disappointed, maybe, that there was so little resolve with this one character that was a villain, because I felt like that would have been a good villain for the series, and this book could have set that up, but they just kill that character off. And they set up another villain, and they just kind of injure that villain, and he gets away. So it would have been nice if maybe the two villains had the chance to meet and work together. I don't know. But yeah, that's my opinion on More Than Human. You could get it on Amazon. You can get it on Audible. I'm sure there are some other websites. You can find Heather on Facebook and other places. I'll link any information she gives me down below so you can talk to her, meet her. She often posts on Facebook, and I'm quite, I need to. This girl is very good at marketing, because she is definitely selling a lot better than I am. I wish she'd teach me some secrets, because I need some help, getting my books off the ground. But speaking of my books, yeah, like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm coming up on 200, on my 200th video, so I will be doing that watch party, and to also add to that, I'm also going to be doing giveaways, and one of the things I'm going to give away that day is digital copies will be free on Amazon of books 1 and 2 of The Guardian of Light. So if you like to read, definitely look for that, because I'm going to have that available too. Free ebooks. So, alright, that has been my review, and I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll talk to you all next time. Bye.